Lamar Jackson is doing something on Twitter that you do not see many quarterbacks do. And I don't know if the Ravens are slow playing his contract negotiations for reasons that have something to do with other than football playing the quarterback position. Because this behavior right here is rare for face of a franchise on Twitter. It's rare for this position to tweet after the game, and I think you guys saw the viral clip of a Ravens fan losing his mind after the Jags game.
That guy. Every week he tries to do that shit.
Yeah, he's killing a pumpkin, and he's trying to go viral with a hysterical reaction. And Lamar Jackson tweeted that out saying that's how he felt after the game. But then he went back at somebody else, and I would advise quarterbacks and players on losing teams to just have a bit of a 12-hour social media cool down period because of however it is your emotions are hissing on the frustration of losing the way Baltimore did to Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. But Jackson writes, boy, STFU, y'all be capping too much on this app. Motherfucker never smelt a football field, never did shit but eat dick. And that's just not what you ever hear from a quarterback. And
or most people. I mean,
agreed, but I would say that you get a lot of heightened talk emotionally from athletes in locker room after they've lost. Man, Stugotz, Antonio Brown was totally normal pillar of a person before whatever happened with him and his head and social media, and now he's sending out, photoshopped pictures of Gisele Bündchen nude because he's doing God knows what with Tom Brady. But this app, generationally, Harbaugh is saying, please just get away from all of that after a game. And at the risk of my age showing, I would advise the same thing. I would advise these athletes, if not to stay away from the app, but stay away from the app if you can't control yourself on responses. Nothing good is going to happen for you getting angry at somebody on Twitter who's going to have the highlight of their existence be that they got you in trouble.
There's going to be criticism after a loss from Ravens fans, from people who bet on that game, from fantasy owners because he's not playing as well as he normally played in years past. And if you can't handle that, then you're right. John Harbaugh is right. Stay away for a couple of days. I'm just surprised Lamar Jackson can't handle the criticism. I'm not sure why and what I'm doing there, but I just figured he'd be...
Oh, but how big do you think this is all pressurized? No one's playing for money the way he is without an agent. Like this is...
He chose that, though.
Correct, yeah. But he chose... Okay, and...
He was offered $250 million.
But it's pressurized, is it not? Like whether he chose
absolutely,
it or not,
yes.
You're not confused by why winning games or losing games might be literally more valuable to him than any of the trolls trying to agitate him.
Is it that he said E to D? Like, is that the line that makes this controversial? Because to me, it's just a way of saying shut up to this guy. Like, I get it. It's a little immature, but if this is the worst thing Lamar Jackson does, this is not a big deal. Like, he got emotional. He told the guy to shut the hell up.
You're the CEO of that team, essentially, when you're the quarterback, and you're trying to sign a lucrative long-term contract. That's not the way you act, I don't think.
It's not going to stop him from getting... You think the Ravens aren't going to stop him because of a tweet? I mean,
I don't know.
It's just, I mean, it's an immature way to handle this, isn't it? Like, it's a way where, like, look, I would imagine that before Twitter, there was sports talk radio, and there was Stugotz on the air calling the quarterback a bum, and callers calling the quarterback a bum, and probably worse. And I imagine there was probably quarterbacks that would drive around in their cars that would listen to that and wanted to call in and wanted to say something to the host. And ultimately, every quarterback ever has had to deal with this, some sort of criticism. But like you say, it's the ability to reply to it, to actually see a face and a name to it. And I can understand sort of in a moment of great frustration, because it's not just that the Ravens are losing. It is the manner of their defeats. If you look up this season, they have led by an aggregate total of 151 points. They have trailed by an aggregate total of 25 points. So they are not losing games by much. As a matter of fact, they're more likely to lead by double digits than they are to be losing at any point in the game.
They have led by double digits in almost all of their games, I believe. And please look up the losses and the point totals of their losses, because you've heard me say before, they are really close to being the Eagles, to looking like the Eagles, feeling like the Eagles. And we wouldn't be talking about Stugotz, Lamar Jackson's having a subpar year if he was playing like Jalen Hurts, being careful with the football. But I want to address what it is that Chris Cody said, because I agree with you, Chris, that his play will determine whether he gets the contract or not. But face of a franchise stuff, getting in front of the microphones and saying palatable mediocrity that doesn't get anyone in trouble, that allows you to just be a voice for a team that doesn't have very many stars, led by an owner who said, pray for us when he welcomed the Kaepernick backup possibility. I'm telling you that Lamar Jackson behaving that way on Twitter will make the people who run that franchise skittish about him representing them that way. Well, Harbaugh's putting his name on.
They brought back Ray Rice, and like Deshaun Watson has all of his allegations, and he got a guaranteed $230 million. So like, is a tweet going to be the undoing of Lamar Jackson?
I'm not making it the undoing. I'm saying Harbaugh is out here. There are a lot of stops between undoing and they still haven't given him his money. They're still waiting. They're looking. They think something is going to be seen here in the last little bit that either makes him accept what they've been offering or not be worth. He's clearly putting his worth in a place that they're not putting it. That's already happened. And every game that he wins or loses is a referendum on whether he should get that money, because that's still how we're doing the quarterback evaluating at that position. Stugotz, we look at the Ravens, we say they don't have that much. They've got that quarterback. And how many years do they have that quarterback being a step better than as an athlete than everybody on the field?
How many more years, you're saying? Right. Is it 5? Is it 6? Is it 3? Is it 2? They're trying to evaluate that. I mean, listen, he's having, for Lamar Jackson, it's 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 2,200 yards. He hasn't missed a game. He'll probably throw for 3,500 yards, 4,000 yards.
In there. The rushing totals matter in how you evaluate these guys. It's why Justin Fields is now exciting in a way he wasn't.
Yeah, he has 755 yards rushing. He has 20 total TDs. He has 7 interceptions. It's kind of in line with what Lamar Jackson has done throughout his career. But when you're playing for a lucrative contract and an extension, maybe it's not enough. I don't know. Maybe the 250 was enough, you know?
And to answer your question, Dan, the Ravens' losses this year have been by 4, 3, 4, and 1.
Yeah.
Also, the Ravens never brought back Ray Rice, which kind of undoes that argument.
But the Deshaun point.
Well, Ray Rice was averaging 3 yards a carry, and greatness does end up winning out. I'm just saying to you, as Lamar Jackson is making the argument of, you will pay me not just as the best quarterback in the league, but you will also pay me as a running back, as both positions, because I'm doing both things for you.
Right.
He's their leading rusher, correct?
Yeah. He has 755 yards. I would imagine that would put him in the top 20 in the NFL.
He's asking to be paid like one of the best quarterbacks, and also I'm your running back, and pay me like it. And I'm not trying to make a big deal out of this. Harbaugh already has, by doing the rare thing of putting his name on after a loss. I've told Lamar, don't do that. Get off of Twitter. Please stop doing that. He didn't keep it in-house. He didn't say no comment. He said, no, he has been reprimanded for this. He's been asked not to do this anymore.
Lamar is 12th in the NFL in rushing yards. 12th. I mean, it's amazing when you think about it.
Stugotz, when you say he's not having a great year, I believe you are still doing traditional math on how to evaluate quarterbacks. You're ignoring the rushing stats. I believe you're doing with Lamar Jackson. And I know it's not an MVP Lamar Jackson year, but would you be saying that if they'd scored one more time in those 4 games? If they'd scored a couple of more field goals in a couple of those games?
Probably not. And you're right. The measurements have changed for quarterbacks where I'm not factoring in the rushing, although I should. He's 19th in the NFL in passing yards. He's just not your traditional quarterback. He did have that one year where it was like 36-6 where he won the MVP, and maybe I'm waiting for that again. But this is really, really good, and he's really, really good, and they've never given him a number one wide receiver. Ever. He does more with less than any quarterback in the NFL.